Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Good lineup tonight for Comics for Kamala, Mark Maron. Already, it's a great show, right? Kevin Nealon, Laurie Kilmartin, Danny Zucker, Maz Jobrani, Dana Gould, Cristela Alonso, and Tom Arnold. Tonight at 7:30 at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles. Let's see, general admission, $46.40. I'll tell you, though, Comics for Kamala needs a better website. I hope the administration runs a little better than that. All right, another show. If you want to turn against all your favorite comedians, get mad at their politics, Gary Goldman doesn't care. He's doing Comics for Kamala on Monday in New York City. Gary Goldman and Friends. The friends are Zach Zimmerman and Brittany Carney. That's at Stand Up New York. The new location at 221 West 46th Street. Oh, wait, there's another show on Tuesday in Miami. This one's at the Miami Improv in Florida. Esther Koo, Larry Dog, Freddie Stebbins, Larry Fish, Mark Christopher, Sharon Pfeiffer, and Bear Clarker Webb. Not exactly the name brands that are performing tonight. That's Tuesday night in Miami. So I want to keep things fair here. I don't see any sort of Trump comedy festival. If I see one, I will tell you about it. I try to think to myself, who would even be in it? I Googled comedians who support Trump. Roseanne came up, and no one else came up. And I'm like, all right, from memory, who could be on Comedians for Trump? I guess we could get Nick DiPaolo and Jim Brewer, Rob Schneider, Gutfeld. I'm sure Gutfeld would love to come. Let me Google conservative comedians, see what comes up. Really nothing other than the headline, Rob Schneider's comedy is so bad, it's even offending Republicans. Somebody put together a tour so I can talk about it. Polestar did a big, giant article about Kill Tony. Tony Hinchcliffe said, I want our audience to be able to hear these different perspectives from everybody. Where they're from, how they grew up, what they do, what makes them different. It's all critical to the flow of the show. I got to remember to watch those Kill Tony MSG shows. They're up on YouTube. We're all different, but we all laugh at a lot of the same stuff, and it brings us together. The show's so raw, so organic, so live. There's never been anything like that before, and I can't believe that I'm the one that did it. A little white trash Italian kid from an all-black neighborhood in Youngstown, Ohio. It's just the American dream, and I couldn't be more ecstatic about it all. Tony told Theo Vaughn on the This Past Weekend podcast about when Tony made his comedy debut. He'd prepped for months and then blanked out on stage. He was honest. He turned to his own forgetfulness and turned that into a 3-minute improvised set. He bombed in the weeks after with the jokes he'd rehearsed. To this day, Tony is more comfortable off script. As for his recent performance at the Tom Brady roast, Tony Hinchcliffe said, I was adapting it until the very last second. Everything was changing. I was making edits, adding things, cutting things out, and repositioning things. I prepared a lot of those jokes for the roast, but I didn't know how and when I was going to do it. I decided very early on when I got there that I was going to do them from left to right and be the only one who moves around. I was trying to figure out where the main camera was seeing so they could see me and also the person I was roasting. So I was directing that while performing. It was a lot of work and a lot of adrenaline, a real blur, but also an absolute blast and one of the highlights of my life. Tony's one of those 15-year overnight successes and said 15 years of writing on roast and performing stand-up led me to this position to be able to just execute up there. It wasn't some magical moment. It was almost 2 decades of continuous practice. The kid that used to roast everybody in school, fully grown, 40 years old, up there doing what I was built to do. Tom Brady deserves all the credit in the world for even letting me have that position and giving a young buck a chance like that. The first episode of Kill Tony was shot back in 2013 in the belly room of LA's Comedy Store in front of 15 people with 4 signups. Hinchcliffe's manager, Alex Murray, I know Alex a little bit from way back in the day. Alex said, the Netflix Comedy Festival made us a low offer, not necessarily financially, but in terms of venue capacity. We told the booker, you're really underestimating the power of this audience. We just kept passing, and finally they made us an offer for the YouTube Theater, which is 6,000 seats. We sold out in 10 minutes on the presale. The booker called and was like, what is this? And we were like, I told you. The second show we added was at the Kia Forum. That sold out within days. We're being careful of how many of these live shows we do because Tony goes out of pocket for production sometimes. We want to make them special and unique. Madison Square Garden, same thing. The first show sold out in a day. Then we added the second show, which ended up selling out. Not a single dollar in advertising was used to achieve this. The Kill Tony YouTube channel has 1.6 million subscribers. They only got to 1 million back in April, so that'll show you how fast it's growing. Alex Murray said, I represent other big acts. Yes, he does. And we got to promote those shows. But when it comes to spending money on promotion, Tony's like, nah, trust me, I got this. We listened, and he's right. He's been right 100% of the time. Tony said, in my mind, we're at times absolutely eating Saturday Night Live's lunch. Shane Gillis doing his Donald Trump. Amen on that. It's so much fun. And when Shane shows up on Kill Tony, it is so much fun. Adam Ray is Joe Biden, Dr. Phil, and many more. They could have had that. These are the new stars, the backbone of modern-day comedy, and having worked with these guys forever and finally putting them in positions to be seen in their finest light, doing their funniest stuff, watching them break character because they're cracking each other up, it's just priceless. It's not written out, it's not rehearsed, everything is improvised, and that's the secret sauce of Kill Tony. Tony moved the show from LA to Austin during the pandemic and says, "It's made me a happier person. The people are nicer, the art is better, the food is better, my spirit is filled, which makes me a better host who makes better decisions for the show. Normally you go to New York or LA to make it and try to take things to the next level. You don't go anywhere else to thrive, but that's what we did. And there's nowhere I'd rather be than at home here in Austin, Texas. It fills my heart with so much joy, and it's my favorite place in the world." Joe Rogan said, "It's a better place for comedy, and you don't have the traffic. It's not a grind. The club situation is amazing. There's Cap City, there's the Creek and the Cave, there's the Vulcan, there's the Sunset Strip, the Mothership, the Black Rabbit, the Velveeta Room, Shakespeare's. You realize you don't have to be stuck in this crazy city of insane traffic and crime." Hinchcliffe added, "Having Shane Gillis here is a death blow to the other cities. Even the few people that we really want that haven't moved here, they're all coming here all the time. It's like a Vegas residency." I apologize here to Mr. Dorfman, who works for Outback and is quoted here somewhere in my collection of the notes. I lost Mr. Dorfman's first name, and I keep Googling Outback Dorfman, and all that comes up is a hat you would wear in the Australian desert. But Mr. Dorfman said, "It's easy to say Austin, but the truth of the matter is, over the years, LA or New York were the gatekeepers, and now there are no gatekeepers. You're watching the best at a craft. Just put their stuff out there and let the people decide. Before, in order to get the word out, there had to be somebody who'd tell you who was good and not. Well, the people have decided. We did 26,000 people in Madison Square Garden. This is the greatest moment comedy's ever seen, and it's because the comedians are running this." Alex Murray agrees and said Comedy Central made a lot of comedy shows that people watched. It launched comedy stars and created new careers. It was a whole thing, but viewing habits changed during COVID. People started migrating to YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, watching on their phones, and Tony's show was literally the only comedy show that was meaningful, original, fun, and cool that existed. The audience felt like they discovered the show organically. It wasn't ever promoted or marketed to them. I can't even remember how I discovered Kill Tony. And I think Alex Murray brings up a good point. Comedy Central, boy, I mean, and I helped launch Comedy Central Radio. That brand, in the aughts, super strong. What happened? The next Kill Tony live stream is at Resorts World Arena in Las Vegas, September 25th. They're also working on a New Year's Eve show. I could see a pay-per-view coming, can't you? Yeah. Now that the show's popular, the big streamers are coming, and Tony said, "I'm just happy to have complete creative control and not have to deal with network notes from some executive or director. Everybody's listening to me, and that's why I think it works. It's not watered down by a bunch of other people's opinions or any old school stuff that's going to drag it down, make it too safe, or make it resemble anything else. It's brutally original, even though it's technically a talent show / open mic. It's so raw because truly anything can happen and everything is improvised. It maintains its loose, dangerous live feel, and it's too late for anybody to catch up. Nobody can even do a rip-off of the show because they'd have to play it safe. You look at your American Idols and your America Got Talent, and it's made for grandmas and grandpas. It's meant to be on the TV at nursing homes. No cool 18-year-olds want to watch that. Meanwhile, you got 18-year-olds watching Kill Tony with their parents, watching with their grandparents, and everybody's entertained. Man, that Kill Tony article is longer than I thought. All right, let's bounce a whole bunch of things. How about this from the Express News from Maria Bamford? Whenever Maria Bamford wants to try out new material, she asks her fans for help. She'll put out a call on Twitter offering a t-shirt to anybody who has time to meet for a cup of coffee or over Zoom and listen to her go through her act. Bamford said, "The great thing about human beings is that if you give people an opportunity to be delightful, they often are delightful. So anytime I've met with somebody, it's been really fun. Also, it's a public forum. So they've said in some way, I'd like to do this, and I'm a fan. It's not like it's pushed upon them, which is my least favorite kind of comedy, which is ambush comedy." She notes that some might be misled by her looks. She says, "I'm a white cis hetero woman in my 50s. They might think they might be able to relate to her point of view." She said, "Maybe not. You might want to Google it. I'm the used bookstore of comedy. I probably won't have what you want, but I'm pleasant, and I try to find you who you might want, and I bet it's someone else." And I've been sitting on this one from the AV Club. Rosalind Chao talked about her time on MASH and after MASH. Remember her? She was on the last few seasons of MASH and then both seasons of After MASH, and then later she was on Star Trek, The Next Generation. Rosalind said, "MASH, that's kind of one of my first real things, and I think that's one of the reasons people on the internet think I'm like 80 years old, because I got hired and then I got fired, unbeknownst to me when my paperwork came in. They basically said I needed to be 10 years older than I actually was to be able to keep the part. And I obviously wanted a job, so I said whatever they needed me to say to be able to regain the role, so that's why I'm 80 or whoever old people think I am. My lawyer just asked if I wanted to have a change, and I was like, will they have considered me for three-body problem if they knew I'm not really an old lady? So I don't want to jinx it, How old is she actually? I didn't think she was 80. Let's see. Let me do loose math before I look it up. All right. MASH ended in 1982. So if I make her, I'm doing lazy math here. If I make her 20 in 1982, she's 60. If I make her 25, she's like 67. I'm going to guess she's like 67 to 70. 66. Not bad, Johnny Mac. Born September 23rd, 1957. About to be 67. Johnny Mac nailed that one. High five, everyone. So if you want to be like, she's only 66, you listen to this podcast tomorrow. She's like 67 is what I said. She's 66 and 365ths. Close enough. I'm glad I slipped that in today. See, that was fun. Accidental, whatever. The AV Club said, hey, with Aftermash, I heard it was being pitched as a series with a tone resembling the film of The Best Years of Our Lives. See, I thought it was pitched as, boy, I wish Alan Alda would have kept doing MASH. What do we do now? That's what I think the pitch was. Rosalind said, oh, yeah, I didn't know what that meant then, but yeah, it was. Look, I had fun on it. I learned how to drive while we were doing it, and my biggest memory was that nobody wanted the parking spot next to me on the 20th Century Fox lot, so they kept moving me. First, I was parked next to Harry Morgan. I remember his face when I got there and said, oh, I'm parked next to you, and look, I did a really good parking job. His face was just like horror. Later that day, I got a note saying, you're parking next to Jamie Farr tomorrow, and Jamie lasted like a week, and the next thing I knew, I was parked next to somebody I didn't know at all. That is your comedy news today. Happy birthday, Rosalind Chao. Also, tomorrow, happy birthday, Bruce Springsteen. That's your comedy news for today. If you would like this thing without commercial interruption, there's a link in the show notes. It'll tell you how that works. Daily Comedy News does support podcasting 2.0. If you'd like a modern podcast app, there's a link in the show notes, and then you can do the whole value for value thing. Stream me some sats. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. If you're in the know, you're in the know. See you tomorrow.